السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا اجتماعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. اللهم لا تجعل فينا ولا بيننا ولا منا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. بارك الله فيكم. Inshallah today inshallah we are going to cover Surah Al-Humaza. Surah Al-Humaza comes right after Surah Al-Asr and before Surah Al-Fil. If you may recall, we did Surah, after Surah Al-Fil there was Surah Quraysh, and then there was Surah Al-Kawthar, and what else? Al-Ma'un. So let's just remember some of the verses on each of these surahs. In Surah Quraysh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, لإلاف قريش إلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about His bounties and what they should do in return. And in Surah Al-Fil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about how the enemies of Abraha came and they wanted to destroy the Kaaba, and talked about their their arrogance and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has punished them. In the next surah, Surah Al-Ma'un, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about some of the bad characteristics of the disbelievers, and so did in the next surah, which is, what is after Surah Al-Ma'un? Al-Kawthar, إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. Surah Al-Asr has got this last ayah, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, right? That every human will be in great loss. The ulama have said that Wallahu Alam, the multiple surahs after that has talked about some of the bad characteristics of those who are going to be in big loss, right? And so we will hear in this surah today, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إن عليهم مؤصدة. Wail, in like the plain Arabic, is when you scare someone of an unknown punishment. When you scare someone with an unknown punishment, we say wail. That's why even in slang nowadays, when we want to scare our children, that if you will have consequences if you do this, we say wailak, wailak minni, right? Do you say it with your children? Wailak means that you want to wait and see what's going to happen. So wail is actually used to threaten with something that is unknown to make it even worse. Because if you know something, you would say, oh, maybe I can tolerate, maybe I cannot. But if you don't know it, you would assume the worst of the worst, right? So wail, in Arabic, that's what it means. I mean, usually they translate it into English as woe, W-O-W. Allahu Alam if this is the right thing, but also there's another meaning in tafsir, which is reported about Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that he said wail refers to a valley in Jahannam. So a valley which means that it is a specific punishment in the hellfire. Allahu Alam, most likely it can be multiple things, and Wallahu Alam, the pure Arabic meaning of it is to threaten with some punishment that is unknown to the people. Yes. W-O-E? I'm sorry. Whoa, yeah, I'm sorry. Astaghfirullah. Yes, W-O-E. Jazakallah khair. I'm glad that you corrected me. Barakallah fiqh. Okay, so that's wail. Wailun li kulli, li for kulli, every. So wail for every humazatin lumaza. Humaza and lumaza are two different words that perhaps have one common meaning in it, and that is to mock at people, to backbite people, to put down people. That's what they mean, both of them. So whether it is mockery or backbiting, they have that. Now, the specific difference between the two, ulama have more than one opinion, but one of the common ones is that humaza comes with actions. You mock at people with actions, whereas lumaza, you mock at people with words that you say. Okay, some of the ulama have said it could be humaza where you do it in front of them, lumaza when you do it in their back. Allahu alam, but most likely, or the most common one, is that humaza comes with actions, the other one comes with words. So let's just go deeper into this. Humaza, the examples that the ulama have said is that, for example, you see someone with a special way of walking, and then you try to make it to walk like him, right? In a sarcastic way, right? So that is humaza. You try to mimic or to say to pronounce words like someone else and then laugh on them. You know, we do this, right? We do this most of the time. Like, for example, someone would laugh on the accent of people within certain geographic area, or I mean, at least in Arab countries, this is wow. Everyone does that, unfortunately, and this is haram. It is haram. I mean, unless it is something that people are not taking it in an offensive way, then that's fine. But if it is offensive, and most likely it is offensive, then that becomes hams, and that is haram. Similarly, when a person pretend, like, for example, I mean, I still remember it when I was a kid. In the neighborhood, there was a boy who was very, very obese, and as he walks, you know, my neighbors or the children who lived next to me, they would pretend like there was an earthquake, just to, and I still remember one day that he was walking and they were sitting in one corner. They started to pretend like there's some earthquake, and then he cried wallahi big time, and then he went back to his mother, and the mother came to yell on them. That kind of thing is what we call it, what? Humaza or hams. Humaza is the adjective, hams is the source noun. Lumaza is when things go with the word. Like, for example, a person says, look how ugly the person is, and look at how his nose is shaped, or look at how obese he is. I mean, things of that nature. And I'm using those specific examples because they are very common. Although, I mean, anything that can put down or humiliate or offend people, then it comes under the humaza and lumaza, whether it is through actions or through some movements with the hands, or is it through the words that a person may use, inshallah. Any question on that? Yes. Yes. You can tell that your brother is trying to connect things together. Allah yajzak khair. It's one of the common diseases that we have these days. Unfortunately, people are not even paying attention to. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you remember in the khutbah I talked about when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking to one of his wives, and she said, "It's enough." He was praising the other wife, and then she said to him, "It's enough that she is like this. And she pointed with her hand as if she's saying she is short. And he ﷺ said that your word, you said a word that if it were to be merged with an ocean, it would have merged. It would have even overcome that. So, subhanallah, and this is the Mu'mineen, and we are sure that she didn't really want to humiliate. It was just out of jealousy that she felt that why would the Rasul ﷺ praise the other lady or the other wife when she thought that this was the time for her to be praised. And because of that little feeling, she said this word and she was like this. And the Rasul ﷺ said, your word would be merged with a whole ocean, and it will overcome that. But we nowadays, unfortunately, we do it in a planned way. And we sometimes attack people in a way that we make them really give up life sometimes. What is the word in English? Bullying. Yeah. I sometimes I get into scenarios or cases where they tell me that some of the Muslims some of the Muslim school or Islamic schools have bullying, and they ask me to address this. And I still remember one day that there was a girl, a Muslim girl, who was bullied by her friends, and she suicided. She killed herself because of that bullying. And the bullying was primarily because of the shape of something on her face that was, subhanAllah, a test from Allah, and she just could not handle it. And we see that a lot. I know sometimes maybe in America, wallahu alam, it's easier than in some of our back homes, but it's very bad. Mocking at people's accent is haram. It's haram. It's not permissible unless it is something that is not offensive. Like, for example, I'm Canadian as well as American at the same time, but in America, in Canada, they use the word A, like for example, school A. You know this A, which means isn't it? Right? So this is not they like it, they love it. So if someone just says it with an intention to make people happy, that's fine. The problem is when a person starts to use an accent that people, or most of the people, would see as a degradation of pronunciation, as something wrong or bad. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that there is this huge punishment, W-O-E, woe, to those who are use mockery or they do the backbiting, whether with the tongue or with the actions. Now, was there any incident in the time of Rasulullah ﷺ that has happened and after which this surah was revealed? The ulama have talked about multiple incidents, so Allahu alam if there was a specific one. Perhaps it's like it was a common pattern. There were people like Umayyah ibn Khalaf, Al-Akhnas ibn Shurayq, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. Those were of the big names of Mecca who used to mock at Rasulullah ﷺ every single time they meet with him. And that was a big thing to have. Umayyah ibn Khalaf in particular was very, very insulting person. And he would do everything he can to make Rasulullah ﷺ feel down. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You know, sometimes when I think about this, there wasn't any person better than him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he knew that what he was doing was only fi sabilillah, and he knew that he was on the truth, and he knew that he was doing things where he sacrificed his time, he sacrificed the family, he sacrificed his whole effort, and yet people will face him with bad words, with bad accusation and false rumors and all that stuff. when you think about this, think about yourself that we have done nothing to deserve the support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet we feel so offended if someone mocks at us because of us doing something good. And then we perhaps may give up doing the righteous good deeds because of those little things that we are facing. When he ﷺ was supposed to be the one protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single second of his life, but yet he has to go through all of these. While in Mecca, by the infidels of Mecca, and while in Medina, by the hypocrites. So it never stopped until his death, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that people will mock at him. People will accuse him of doing things that he was free of, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the thing that really should really touch our heart is that he sallallahu did not take these into a revenge action. He sallallahu never revenged for himself. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed the person, when he is wronged by others, that he can respond with the same amount of wrong. But Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam never did this. And he preferred that perhaps they may be guided in the future. Even when he was in Ta'if, which is that city about maybe 50 miles away from Mecca, and they stoned him. And the way they did it was very humiliating. They have asked their children, their little ones, to go after him and stone him. And of course curse him and all that. And he was offered to just make dua against them, which is the least any one of us would do. He sallallahu refused. He said, I still have hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring from among themselves, from among their descendants, people who would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. In today's time, the problem is very, very worse than how it was even in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because those were hypocrites or they're infidels of Mecca who were attacking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because they didn't want this message to go through, right? In today's time, within the Muslim communities, the Muslims are doing it against each other. Perhaps because maybe because Brother Qamran belongs to a different Islamic party, which is something that I don't like, then I start attacking him. Maybe because he goes with some political orientation that is different than mine, and then I start attacking him. Maybe because he belongs to a geographic location that I don't feel comfortable with, then I start attacking him. Maybe because that's what happens in many of the Muslim communities. And the sad news is that sometimes it's being sugar-coated by an Islamic reasoning. I have seen it, I have gone through it a lot in my whole life, and I believe every one of us has gone through this. That people will tell you, Wallahi, I'm doing this unni fi sabilillah, only for the sake of Allah. I need to expose this man. This man has caused all the trouble. This is very common, subhanAllah. And but the reason it hurts more is because when it comes from Muslims and they are doing it and they pretend that they are doing it fi sabilillah, when everything is only backbiting and slandering and mocking at others. Okay, any question before I go to the next ayah?
Of us making noise or creating ruckus in the guest house, parents would look at us in the eyes and they would say, when I go home, I will show you.
Yes. Yes.
And he hasn't, my parents haven't announced what it is.
Yeah. And it's enough of a punishment to just.
Taken away your iPad or your
Yeah.
internet
Yeah.
restricted
Yeah.
log,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. One of the scholars that I learned from a lot. He was asked once. He's Syrian scholar. He was asked once, "What do you know of English language?" He said only 3 words, and they all mean something bad. So, what was the first one? He said, "Welcome." Welcome means woe to you, and then he was referring to welcome. And then he said Iblis. And I was like, what is Iblis? He said he was referring to please. So, I forgot what the third one was. Okay, so وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ. SubhanAllah, this is very interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala usually align between 2 things, the bad characters and manners, and then the love of money, the love of dunya. So الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ, it's the one who, Allah is still talking about humaza and lumaza, the one who collects money and keeps counting it. And keeps counting it means that he is so much attached to the money that he just cannot believe, he cannot feel comfortable unless he makes sure that it is still the same number. It's not going less, so he keeps counting them. And by the way, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade us from doing this. So actually, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if he used the word waha, inshallah I will say this hadith in one of the Isha Khatiras. He said when the person counts his money, because he just is so much attached to it, and he's just always monitoring this. Just like how, subhanAllah, when you deal with stocks, you just want to see where's my, how much is the stock is worth right now. If you're doing it because you want to do trading, that's fine, because that's part of how it works. But if you are doing it only to make sure, alhamdulillah, yeah, the money is increasing, then that actually removes the barakah from it. Rasulullah has actually made a dua against the person who counts his money continuously because he is so much attached to it. And he, as Rasulullah said, fawahin waha, which means that may Allah remove the barakah in it. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ, the one who collects money and keeps continuously counting it. It's just subhanAllah, I mean, and I have seen it, that people would create a bank account and then they will keep just watching it. Akhi, you know how much you have in the bank account. You don't need to keep watching it every single day I mean, it just tells, subhanAllah, that people who are so much attached to the dunya, usually they have no problem in mocking at others and doing things about others, because all what they care about is themselves. And that's the example of selfishness. Subhanallah. So, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَهُ. That person thinks or believes that the money or the wealth that they have collected may give them an eternity life, and that they will not die. And actually, I have seen it also in many Muslim rich neighborhood. I used to live in Seattle, and one of the neighbors to the masjid was a Muslim Arab. He was Arab and he was very rich. And one of the day, he used not to come to the masjid. One of the day, his wife, who was American non-Muslim, came to the masjid, and she was like, my husband is on his deathbed, and I want to make sure that we will follow the religious practice that I know that he belongs to. So we went as a group, and mashallah, mentioned very huge palace that he had. And then when we met with him, He was like, don't worry. I have my personal doctor. I have all of these, and I have an athletic body. And he was like, I don't believe that I will die. Subhanallah. Yeah, and he passed away. Only lasted for maybe a few months after that, and he passed away. But that was the feeling of a person who was Muslim. But it was money that really made him, like, because he used to get the nurses to his home, personal doctor. He had someone to even work on his massage, and so he was served in everything, and he felt like there's no way with all this that I will lose it. By the way, the Pharaoh has said the same thing. What did he say? He said, أليس لي ملك مصر؟ Yeah. No, because I haven't mentioned his name. No. Backbiting is when you talk about the person in front of others that he would feel that he was humiliated. When you do it for a lesson and you're not mentioning names, no one would know about it, but we take the lesson out of it. There's in no way this is backbiting, Habibi. Yeah. I'm sorry?
He's identifiable because he's next to the masjid.
No, he's not under. No.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
You don't know even which masjid, right?
When you speak of a person that I also know of, and I derive
Of course.
knowledge,
Of course.
I say,
Of course. And let me, I will, inshallah, I will have to spend maybe some good time to explain what is excluded from backbiting. So for example, Habibi, there is a ruling in Sharia that says, لا غيبة بفاسق. لا غيبة بفاسق. What that means is that if a person is publicly doing haram, then if you tell others that he is doing this is no more riba. لا غيبة بفاسق. Inshallah, we'll explain those rules later, inshallah. When we say backbiting, I think most of the time people understand that you're mentioning them in something that they don't like behind their back, and you are trying to cause them harm, or to cause to make fun of them. So in that context, it is the ghiba that it is really haram. Okay, so back to يحسب أن ماله أخلد. The Pharaoh was saying, أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي. Don't I have the kingdom of Egypt, and all those rivers are flowing under me? And he thought that this would be a reason for him to have an eternity life in this dunya. And he said that even if I were to go to to die, then I would have a better life even in the hereafter. So he didn't believe in the hereafter, but he said, if I have it now like this, let alone in the hereafter. So يحسب أن ماله أخلد. كلا means nay or no. لينبذن في الحطمة. لا ينبذن. La is a letter that means indeed, right? Yes, I'm sorry.
Just to touch up more on what you were saying about the brother and the backbiting, I want to bring it up, but the example where you said that when you're teaching a lesson, it's not an issue. Same, like right now you gave, but Fir'aun, for example.
Fir'aun, yeah.
We're talking about him.
Yeah.
It's not backbiting. It's a lesson that we are.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair, ahsan, barakallah fiqh. So la in Arabic means for sure or indeed, and then yunbadhanna, the verb is yunbadh, and then na at the end is also for to reassure, to reaffirm. Now yunbadh means to be thrown with humiliation. So there's a word called yutrah, which means to be thrown. But then yumbad means to be thrown with humiliation. Like okay, so let's say you have some dirt in your hand and you want to throw it in the garbage. You're not going to be like, you're not going to throw it with care. You will just throw it as something that you want to get rid of as soon as possible. So that's what yunbad. It means that will be thrown in the most humiliating way. Fil hutama, inside al-hutama. Hutama is one of the names of Jahannam. And hutama is coming from a verb called hatama, which means to destroy. So the way they translate it is the crusher. The crusher. And what hutama means, the one that crushes everything that goes in it. Everything. Regardless of what it is. Even the big rocks and the stones and whatnot, they are all crushed in that Jahannam, let alone the human body. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called Jahannam with so many different names. We have Surah Al-Ghashiyah. We have, there's Nar, there's Jahannam, there's Al-Hutama. And every name of the hellfire gives a different meaning, a different, or is highlighting different things, different characteristic of that hellfire. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this person who mocks at people and who is so much attached to this money will be thrown in the fire, in that fire that will be crushing everything that it goes in it. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْحُطَمَةِ. And what makes you know, O Muhammad, what is hutama? And that is, in Arabic we use this wording, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ, to let the person ponder about the word itself. It's just like, give me another example. Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ Mal-Qari'ah. And so on. So, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْحُطَمَةِ نَارُ اللَّهِ الْمُوقَدَةِ. It's the fire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is continuously fueled to stay in its highest form. There were multiple ahadith that describe Jahannam. Among them was that the biggest fire that we could ever have on earth is less than 1/70 or 1/69 compared to the least of Jahannam. And I actually, when I was young, I could not recognize what that really means until, subhanAllah, I started to hear about those fires that come because of volcano and fires that go on like big forests, like what happened in California. The degree that it goes to, the high degree that it goes, the high temperature degree that it goes to is unbelievable, astronomical numbers sometimes. When you hear about the heat of the sun, as you get closer there, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's any of those things are actually less than 1/69 or 70 in another narration from the lowest of the hellfire. Now, Narullahi al-Muqada. When you hear an object being added to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it actually gives it the seriousness. So for example, we say Baytullah, right? Referring to the Masjid. And which means that it's so significant that you are adding the object to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are attributing the object to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, Narullahi, if it were just Nar, it wouldn't be that much. But Narullah al-Muqada, that Allah is the one that made it to be in that fueled and to be crushing and all that. Narullahi al-Muqada allati tattali'u ala al-af'ida. This one is very important for all of us. Brother Riza, what time should we stop?
7:20.
Okay, so we have 7 more minutes. Excellent. So, التي تطلع على الأفئدة. I want you to pay attention very much to this ayah. التي, which means Jahannam. تطلع, it means it reaches. الأفئدة means the heart. When you put a person, when you put an animal or anything in the fire of a dunya, it will burn everything, right? So why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this hellfire will reach to the hearts when it is already known? Of course it will. I mean, if we're talking about this simple fire in this dunya, it will do it, let alone the one of the akhirah. So why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it explicitly that it will reach to the hearts? Why? Anyone can guess an answer.
The essence of you as a person, your essence is in your heart.
Okay.
And what the soul is and all
Right. So, in fact, the ulama have said that your heart is the reason for every evil thing that you're doing. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that people mock at others, it's because of their ill feeling in the heart about others. When Allah talked about loving money and just counting it, it's because of the love of this dunya, which is also in your heart. Now, in Arabic, heart means the center of thing, right? So not necessarily this organ that we have, but of course, whenever we hear it in the Quran or in the Hadith, we believe that this is the organ, and we believe also that Allahu Alam, there is something attached to it that reflects on your feeling towards others. We know from modern science that perhaps a person thinks everything in the mind or in the brain, but the heart is actually what reflects on this. Like, for example, when you see someone you love, your heart will beat differently, right? When you are scared, your heart beats also differently, and so on. So the heart is actually the thing that you can always feel towards what you can always observe changing as you have different feelings of things. Now, the thing that I wanted to pay attention here is that unless we purify our hearts, then we will be vulnerable to this ayah. التي تطلع على الأفئدة. So if you want to really rectify or correct anything in your life, it is this. Remove the ill feeling that you have from others, and you will see that it will change the way that you react to others. It's subhanallah. I mean, I just want to give you one example of this. There was a time I used to be in a masjid, imam in a masjid, and I still remember there were a couple of brothers who came. They wanted to have their own halqa in a certain way. And so they were asking for permission. I could not give them permission because we had another program. So they felt very bad about it. They didn't know me, and I didn't know them, but I was just following the rule that we have another one, so we can't really have two things at the same time. So they got very mad, and then they started to call me names, especially because they thought that I am, as maybe you would hear it, people will call me Salafi, Wahhabi, whatever they may call me, and they thought it's because of this that I did not let them continue. And subhanAllah, it was only just 1 week after that one of the mashayikh that I had a very good relationship with, they trust him. So they talked to him, and he said, no, Abdurrahman is just like any one of us. And then subhanAllah, they flipped 180 degrees, and they started to become among the people who would actually sit in my class. And I was thinking about it, that sometimes you have something in your heart, and all your actions reflect that. And just change what goes in your heart, and then all your actions will be changed accordingly. I mean, people usually pay attention to the result and not to the core cause, not to the root cause of the problem. And that's where we need to always remember that And that ayah actually tells us your heart is the most important organ that you need to work on, in the way that your heart is actually the root cause of everything. That's why Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, ألا إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله. That there is an organ in the body. If that organ becomes good, then the whole entire body will become good, because that is the root cause of everything. التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة. That this hellfire will be closed on them. مؤصدة means it's entirely, completely closed. And then في عمد ممددة. عمد means like bars, and mumaddada means it goes from the beginning of the doors all the way to the end of it. It's just like how, imagine prison and how they have the bars. There's no way you can escape, right? So that's very similar here. في عمد ممددة, that you have bars all across, that in no way you can escape from that hellfire. Wal'iyadu billah. Now, just to recap with a few things, this surah was revealed in Mecca. Some ulama have said it was revealed in Medina, but wallahu alam, it's more likely it was revealed in Mecca. And it does apply to the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Mecca, because of what he has faced from the infidels of Quraysh. And it also applies to Medina because of what he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has faced with the hypocrites. I want to just conclude with one last thing, which is in no way, in no time, that he ﷺ was free from those who were trying to mock at him. In no time. When he was by himself and very few companions in Mecca, they attacked him with that. When he became the biggest power, even after the conquest of Mecca, even after all that, the munafiqeen would mock at him, and they will try to put him down, to attack his reputation, do what they call a character assassination, even at the time when he ﷺ had the highest level of strength and power. And remember always that there is no one of us who can even come close to one of the pious predecessors, let alone the Sahaba, let alone Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So if this is the case, then be it, and let people mock at us. Don't care. Don't worry about that. Just make sure that you when you hear this, any mockery at you or any backbiting against you, just make sure that you believe in Allah. Your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is strong enough that it will not put you down, or it will not, la samahullah, cause you to give up the good that you are working for, inshallah. Even if people misinterpret you, even if people were to challenge your intention, even if people would work behind you to attack your reputation and make you look very bad in front of others, if you are clear about your intentions, if you are clear about following what the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wants or has taught us, then don't worry, even if the whole entire dunya goes against you. And that's, I think, the most important lesson that we get from this surah. Be determined. Don't worry. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of it. Allah will give you the best in the akhirah. And remember, connect this with the surah Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, because those who were mocking at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were the ones that no one now knows about them. I mentioned three names. I mentioned Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, Al-Akhnas ibn Shurayq, and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Anyone heard these names before? At the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those were the big shots. Those were the ones that everyone would be proud of. Those were the ones that if they had iPhone in that time, everyone would take selfie with them. And they will leave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just please think about it today, in today's time. Who are the people going to take selfie with? It's not us. It's not you. It's not me. They will do it with others who are celebrities or whatnot. But in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what really goes heavy on the scale is your belief, your good characters and manners, and more importantly, your sincerity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us steadfast in this dunya and accept for us in the hereafter. I would like to just start a pattern that after we do this, we recite the surah together. How about that? Okay, so I think it would be better so maybe we can do it at least twice, inshallah, and hopefully next time we can give it more time, bi'idhnillah, so we could do it more. Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة. Okay, let's do it all together now, inshallah. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة. جزاكم الله خير. صلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. وإياك حبيبي، وإياك الله يرضى عليك.